Welcome back, sci-fi fans, to the Science Fictionary Podcast. I'm Andrew, here today with Marisha. Back for the third time this week. Does this mean we're finally actually back? Like 3 podcasts in a week?
Seems
do
valid.
something.
Seems valid, like a point.
Like I didn't do one and then just, didn't come back again for a month, because that has happened a few times this year.
Once or twice.
No, we're back. And which is good because did all this. And,
it's true. It's true.
Never came back.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about Marvel's Thunderbolts trailers. We got 2 trailers. We'll mostly talk about the second one. There's a lot more to talk about in the second one.
Yeah.
First one just was kind of the teaser. It was what a teaser was. It gave us some cool visuals.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't tell us anything about what was going on. Well, I take that back. There's a scene with Yelena and Red Guardian, her father.
Right.
Despite the fact they're not actually family, she's never known him as anything but.
Right.
And so we get a little moment between them in the first trailer. Andrew, hey, glad you were able to jump in the chat here. But you see a little moment of kind of what I think kind of gives a good bit of the story of what this is away. We got a couple things going on with this one. We're still throwing that asterisk.
Yeah.
And the onto the Thunderbolts. And whether that, we've been told we're going to find out what that means.
Yeah.
And whether, the Thunderbolts have been a lot of different things in the comics, but they've kind of been bad guys posing as good guys.
Okay.
And I don't think any of our characters fit that mold anymore.
No, I think they're a little more like, people, they're a little more morally gray, but I think they're
a little more morally gray. I mean, I think Bucky's good. I mean, I think we saw, I don't want them to undo what we saw with Bucky. And I do think it's a lot like Marvel Suicide. Well, Thunderbolts is exactly like Marvel Suicide Squad. And I think these characters will have some similarities to that early on. And I think they've done some bad things, but I don't think I see at the end of the day, most of these characters coming down as villains.
No, not knowingly.
Which, Suicide Squad, they're bad guys.
Right.
They're through and through bad guys. And I don't see that here. And in fact, I see the opposite, especially with Bucky. If we decide to make Bucky a villain again, I'm just...
No, I don't think they're doing that.
So I really don't want to undo anything, because the best parts of Falcon and Winter Soldier was Bucky finding peace. With his past.
Yeah.
He had come a long ways. We've seen that journey for a long time, but him finally kind of reconciling everything. So I kind of wonder, what do you think the asterisk?
I think that the name Thunderbolts is a placeholder. I think they wind up dubbing them something else by the end of the show.
I think they're the Secret Avengers. Even though it's not all of the same characters, because Secret Avengers were kind of given their mission directly from Cap. But I could see them bringing in Hawkeye or someone, or even Bucky. I mean, there's absolutely no reason. If we delegated, we kind of gave Anthony Mackie's Falcon part of Cap's with the mantle. We didn't hand it down to Bucky the way they did in the comics, but Bucky could be the leader of the Secret Avengers. So the Secret Avengers are like a Black Ops.
Yeah, I definitely get Black Ops vibes off of them.
So I think that at the end of the day, they wind up being Marvel's Secret Avengers, because I don't see most of these characters. I mean, we've seen all of these characters pretty much have a turn from what they're doing that's bad to some extent. I mean, they're all still out there kind of doing shady stuff.
Yeah,
obviously. But I think what we see with Yelena in particular, I think Yelena and Bucky are our leads. And I think that what we're going to see is, we saw Bucky find peace. Yelena still has kind of found peace, but maybe still looking for it to some extent. but they're looking for this whole team is looking for purpose.
Right. Yeah, I think that Bucky has kind of come to grips with the things he's done and the fact that he was in control of them, but he still did them.
Right.
But I still think he's sort of, they're not he's not an Avenger. He's not the new Captain America. He's just kind of there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great Shield agent. Shield don't really exist. Swords out there doing their thing.
Right.
And I'd like to see some iteration of Shield come back, but and we could. I mean, we're still throwing around old Madam Hydra, even though we're not calling her that. But yeah, I'm not totally sure. But what I do get from this is that they are all looking for purpose now. There's a couple of scenes in the first trailer in particular that made me think that maybe Bucky is actually an elected official, government, has been elected as a congressman, or
which that would definitely be an interesting. I assumed it was more like he was getting grilled again.
Yeah, see, I don't think that's the case. I think that he has, and of course we're going to find out. We're going to find out here, but I think these are characters. I think John, you still got a couple of these characters that could come down as bad guys.
Yeah,
kind of John Walker. I mean, but we saw, he clearly had regrets. They've shown remorse at their actions, so they're not through and through bad guys. They're definitely the more morally gray.
Yeah.
Still trying to find a path kind of characters. I have no idea what the story is going to look like. They're still giving us very little story.
I mean, pretty much everything we got from those two trailers was from like 3 scenes.
Yes.
We got the scene in the car. We got the scene in Avengers Tower, and we got the scene with Bucky and Red Guardian driving the truck. And that's where most of the 4 scenes, and then the scene when they meet Bob.
Yeah. And so I've seen a lot of talk, people saying, "Oh, if they cut a good trailer, but they probably put all the good parts in the trailer." And I'm like, well, if all the good parts are in 5 minutes of movie, then yeah. But Marvel has never been one to throw you anything of real significance.
No.
In a trailer.
Yeah.
If anything, they'll totally mislead you in a trailer. And I don't think they're misleading us per se as to where this story is going, because they really don't think they can. And I know we're still all looking for the movie that brings everyone back, that brings everyone back to get everybody excited. And Deadpool does that in a way, but Deadpool's not the typical family film, the family fare that Marvel presents. So it doesn't bring everybody back to the table.
Yeah.
Because there's some people it doesn't work for. And then there's some people that can't see it, so, and I don't think this is it either. I don't think, and we're going to talk later about, not in this episode, we're going to do another episode to talk about Captain America 4, Brave New World. That's a movie. So these are movies for fans, for Marvel fans. These are not bring new people into the fold kind of films.
Right.
And they need that film.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think we're working that way. I think we're going to start getting some of those over the next couple of years. I think Fantastic Four will very much be that kind of movie. And then when we get around to bringing in X-Men.
Yes, I think, honestly, I feel like in some ways I could kind of do a soft reset with X-Men, not in that a relaunch. Let me go with relaunch.
Oh, 100%.
Because they not that they're going to undo anything that they've done, but they can kind of start the fan base back at one.
Well, you can come back around to origin films.
Yeah.
You can kind of bringing in X-Men and bringing in all those new characters gives you the ability to kind of go back to that phase 1 feeling.
Yeah.
Where everything's new again.
Right.
And so I think that's what's going to happen. And so I am excited right now to see them making movies that are for the current fans, but they need that big thing that kind of like flips that switch back on and makes Marvel. And we're hearing exciting things from Kevin Feige, talking about, that they know where things are going now, and
Right,
so
right,
it's a matter of gearing up and getting it there. That and they know where it's going towards this next Avengers film and beyond,
right.
which is exciting for them because the other side of that was him talking about as they were building up to Endgame, everything was so big, so involved that they couldn't really begin to look beyond it.
Yeah.
And we have felt the pains of the plan kind of having ended with Endgame.
Well, I mean,
And
it took them 12 years, but they finally like finished the story, and then it was like, well, and then now what?
right,
It's in some ways I feel like Marvel, in spite of the fact that they make movies primarily, is in some ways like a TV show. Like, you'll have the arcs and you have the villain, and it's like if you drag the villain on too long, then it just becomes tedious and starts to feel hopeless. But if you change the villain too often, it's like, well, that's awful. Like, it's like it has a lot of the same kinds of potential pacing issues that a TV show has, just because it's
because it's so big.
it's yeah, and it runs for so long.
Yeah. And that was what was it. And the thing is regardless of how you feel about the last phase or two phases
Mhm.
of Marvel, the fact that those first four, the everything from Iron Man through Endgame
Mhm.
is nobody's ever accomplished anything remotely like that
Right.
cinematically.
Mhm.
Like nothing.
Right.
Even the few mediocre things that fall amongst that stretch of films, it is
Mhm.
absolutely incredible what they pulled off.
Yeah.
And we've had some growing pains trying to put things back on track and kind of begin to figure out where we want to go.
Right.
And some of it is to pretend that all of phase four is bad is not fair.
Yeah, no, for sure.
There are good films in phase
Mhm.
four, and there's good things that were set up well in phase four.
Mhm.
And it was that it built up, and to some extent we as fans were unwilling to come down off the mountain and and then begin to climb it again.
Mhm.
Right, we just wanted it to keep going up,
Yeah, and
and
it's
we
not.
we weren't willing to admit that we were going to have to do the climb over again.
Well, I mean, and the thing is, like, you can't continually up the ante to, I mean, like, wipe out half of the universe. I mean, that's pretty much like
Yeah.
top stakes.
Yeah. And you can still do, I mean, there are stories just sitting right there where you can
Mhm.
still have some big, galaxy threatening
Mhm.
villains, but like, the truth is they needed to come down. You basically your Avengers are gone. Like
Mhm.
Cap's gone, Iron Man's gone, Black Widow's gone,
Mhm.
and to some extent, we
Wanda's
said
gone.
Wanda's gone
Vision's
for
gone.
now. Vision's gone. We said goodbye to Hulk in some ways. He's
Mhm.
he's still there, but he's not really Hulk anymore, right?
Right, right.
Um, so you kind of said goodbye to that whole original crew from that
Mhm.
first Avengers film,
Yeah.
except for Hawk. Well, I mean, we kind of said goodbye and kind of didn't say goodbye to Hawkeye. I think
Yeah.
Hawkeye's coming back. We need to see Hawkeye back. I would love to see Hawkeye back in a leadership role,
Mhm.
like he was head of Shield at a point in the comics. So I'd
Right.
love to see them
Mhm.
bring him back in some capacity. Obviously, we're building towards some Young Avengers stuff, but I guess we're going to run out of time if we don't move back to this trailer. So one of the cool
Yeah.
things about this movie is we're finally getting Sentry, a character and that I frankly don't know enough about. I know that character can play a hero or a villain depending on
Uh-huh.
how they're using him at the moment. And
He's the Superman,
he,
basically.
yes, incredibly super powered,
Okay.
like real OP, but has like a dark entity within him that can
Okay.
kind of turn on the evil there for a bit.
Like, almost like, Venom-ish?
Not quite like Venom, but I mean,
Okay.
this is a character. Um, yeah, Wanda's coming back. There's rumor that Wanda will come back in the next Spider-Man. But we're definitely going to see Wanda back. Wanda's not gone. That little flash of red at the end of that when everything collapses. Wanda's not gone. We're you know
When everything collapses.
when she destroys the temple
Oh, yeah.
on the mountain.
Yeah. So if we get Wanda back, do we get her what do we get back? What version of Wanda do you think we get back?
I think
Like she kind of had like a moment of,
Wanda's going to come
regret.
back to a world that her sons exist in.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Whatever you think about Agatha, and we've still got to talk about that. I actually enjoyed
I really did.
Agatha.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy everything. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things in Agatha that are not made for me to enjoy, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I always kind of look at things like Marvel and Star Wars and go, shouldn't these things be made for most people to enjoy, not a small subset? But
Yeah.
the truth is that I found a lot of enjoyment in the lore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's me. If you give me enough good lore,
Mm-hmm.
I'll at the end of the day, I'm gonna be pretty happy, even if I don't enjoy how
Yeah.
the whole story. But Wanda was an interesting, or no, Agatha was an interesting show.
And finally, name drop Mephisto.
Yeah, so he's kind of like he's right here. So it's more like Adam Warlock.
Okay.
So this is a character that I don't know what role he's going to play. I think we will see him for a little while as a villain. Cool thing about that character, do you know who that is, the actor?
He looks familiar, but I
that is Lewis Pullman. That is Bill Pullman's son.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have the son of Kurt Russell and Bill Pullman in this movie, which is just kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, hello from the beach. I don't have great cell service, but I have a great view. That's awesome, Nick. Enjoy your time at the beach. So real quick before we run out of time, here's kind of my thoughts on this show, on this movie, and what I expect from it. I expect a whole lot of fun, which I'm all for. I expect to see I expect that they use this movie to give a number of these characters some real character growth towards their future roles. Specifically, the two characters that I think are meant to be the main characters here in Bucky and Yelena.
Yeah.
I think we see them really shaped towards what their future role is.
Yeah. And I hope so. I mean, Bucky's been one of my favorites from the word go, all the way back in First Avenger. I loved Bucky.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get some more. I always like me some more Bucky.
Yeah. So and I think it's time that Bucky gets the spotlight. And then I think that's kind of the point here, is that I think at the end of the day, this is Bucky assembling a team.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the one that has called them all together, but I think this is Bucky's team. Yeah. Now, I don't know what's going on with Taskmaster. Taskmaster really only shows up in that one scene we've seen stuff from. Whether she dies quickly or has gone elsewhere during like you said, we've only really seen shots from like 3 scenes.
Yeah.
Hey, Ubaldo, thanks for popping in. But at the end of the day, I expect to see good character growth, a lot of fun. I have no idea what to expect from the story. The story may be a total mess, but as long as this is fun, I don't think anybody's going to care.
I mean, honestly, just based on that trailer, I thought you said this was bulletproof.
I love the Red Guardian.
The Red Guardian, I think, is just going to be, oh, it's the Winter Soldier, right. Just the like slightly off.
Well, the thing is, they're definitely using him as comedic relief, and that's okay to a point. But this is a guy that was Captain America's rival,
right?
Like, I want to see him have some real moments.
Yeah.
And I think the character deserves that.
Yeah.
So I love the way, he's great as the comedic relief.
Mm-hmm. The best though is Yelena sitting there in the
Yes,
front seat.
the embarrassment, because
I
her
was like,
dad is,
mm-hmm.
yeah. So
I was like, oh look, it could be one of my kids on any given day.
but so like I said, I want to see. Yeah, I'm fine with him as comedic relief mostly. But what we see in that first trailer from him, Yelena shows up to him and says, "Hey, I'm missing something in my life,"
Mm-hmm.
and he's not saying it. He's saying he's very fulfilled.
I'm full and I'm filled.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but he's not. He's clearly not.
Right. Yeah. No.
And so, I think that you've got characters like Ghost, who's never been able to have normal.
Right. Yeah.
So you've got these characters, but I really want to see all these characters get a moment.
It's like in some ways it makes me think about, the meme that's been going around, your trauma makes you stronger. Your trauma makes you funnier.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I feel like that's what we've got going on here.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be funny because Yelena's going to be funny.
Yeah.
Red Guardian's going to be funny. And I kind of expect that Bucky and Yelena will play well off of each other.
And that's the thing about Bucky is he hasn't been funny since, he's a straight man, he's ever since he got unhydrified, he's just kind of been the straight man but he does it so well with all the ludicrous, scenarios. And he paired really well with Anthony Mackie's Falcon.
Yes.
So I'm really hoping that they've got a good dynamic going here.
Yeah, and it's a similar dynamic, right? Like Yelena and Falcon, like the just snide humor is similar. Anthony Mackie's is a little quicker. But that's him. That's him bringing himself into the role a lot.
Yeah.
Just the whole gift of gab thing that he gets from being a New Orleanian.
What you're talking about.
I mean, you can walk down the street and find 10 people that'll talk to you just like that. In New Orleans.
I mean, you mean it's not like a rule that you have to talk with the person in front of you at the checkout? I thought that was like a basic human expectation.
And guys, when you go to New Orleans, if you haven't been, if you ever go and somebody says, "I bet you I can guess where you got those shoes," don't fall for it, because they're going to bet you money, and then they're going to say, "On your feet." And then they're going to actually put their hand out and want the money.
Not a lie. No, but I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be
that's
fun.
What I want to see. I kind of gave my thoughts. I have one kind of question mark for this on me is Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. I can't think of her name. Valentina. I don't hate the character, but I need a. I mean, she's a villain.
Yeah. Isn't she? Oh shoot, Clark Gregg's character. Isn't she his ex-wife? Isn't that?
No, she was the ex-wife of Martin Freeman.
Yes, Martin Freeman. Yes.
But the thing is, we've had her across a number of projects, and we know she's not good. But I need her to have a real, so far, she's not much of a villain.
So far, she's just sort of like meddling.
I need her to have a real menacing moment.
Yeah.
That's what I need from her. I need her to finally in this one give me something that makes me that concretes what she is, because right now she's just kind of like manipulating people.
Yeah.
But I need her to have the moment where we can go, okay, she's full on bad guy. Because we don't have that moment yet.
Yeah.
Right now, she could just be what she presents herself as a shady government employee.
Right.
So anyway, before we run out of time, I want to know what you're excited about it, and if you have any things that you've kind of got.
I mean, I think the movie looks like fun.
Mhm.
I think the movie, you know, I I think they could do some really interesting things story-wise with it. I hope that the story doesn't just kind of stagnate. I hope that I hope it goes somewhere. I'd like to see some characters. Whenever you have characters that have this much going on, you have to have some kind of character development. People can't just park where they are.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
don't need this to just use all of these characters just to launch Sentry.
yeah, no.
I don't need this to just at the end of the day be Sentry's origin story. I need this to be a story about these characters where we also got our first look at Sentry.
Yes, I agree because I mean, like some of these characters, especially characters like, I mean, especially Bucky. Like like Bucky deserves to finally have a story that isn't totally dependent on Captain America
Yes.
or whoever happens to be Captain America this year. Um, because he's an important he's mostly been a plot device so far in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. He's been a big motivator for and I just totally lost his name. OG Cap. What's his name? What's his name?
The actor?
No, the character.
Captain America.
Right, but what's his name?
Steve
Steve.
Rogers.
Steve Rogers. I just it totally just disappeared. It's like I know this, but I just couldn't find. Yeah. So like for a long time, he was just sort of a plot device to motivate Captain America in
Yes.
one direction or another. He was a plot device to provide conflict within the Avengers. Um,
I mean, that's the thing. Bucky's best movie so far is the one where he's the villain.
yeah.
Now, that said, that is probably still outside of just sheer magnitude of what's happening, is still probably top to bottom Marvel's best movie.
Yeah, excellent movie. So I really want to see Bucky finally come into his own. I mean, I think that this guy has, there's like some degree of like he's been in the MCU for 15 years, like finally give the guy his own, direction
Yeah.
that isn't totally contingent on someone else's. That isn't about either motivating Captain America or what does he do now that Captain America's gone, which is what Falcon and the Winter Soldier mostly was. So that's really what I'm hoping to get out of this.
Yeah. How do you feel about the fact that they've split him and Anthony Mackie's Falcon
That
up?
kind of hurts my feelings. I thought they were a lot of fun together, and I really thought we were going to get Captain America and the Winter Soldier was going to be the next
Yeah.
thing we were going to get. So I'll be curious to see if he's going to figure in. I hope that he isn't just totally AWOL for the new Captain America movie.
Well, the reports are he's not there. So now, time wise, these two projects should occur really close to the same time.
Right.
So maybe they're both just on separate missions when everything goes down. But I
Yeah.
don't think either one of them will play a role in the other's movie. But at the same time, like you're talking about, if we want to see him step into the leadership role, maybe we needed to separate him. I just don't want to. I don't want to undo the progress we made for his character,
and the progress that I think, because since he was such an integral part of obviously the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the two of them, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like where he is has some effect on what Captain America is doing currently. Yes, I would be there for that.
Yeah, I mean that's real possible. I think that's a likely direction unless I am correct that this at the end of the day he's going to assemble that Bucky's going to assemble this team as the Secret Avengers, not the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. So maybe they get the crew together and he's like, bye-bye, crazy government lady. Go back to Seinfeld.
I mean, she may not survive this movie.
Yeah. Which should be okay. I mean, she's she's always fun. I'm always happy to see her show up in things because she's just great. But, like the character, I'm not just uber attached to the character as such.
Yeah. So see where it goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's going to do it. You have any last thoughts before we wrap up?
I'm optimistic. I'm
Awesome.
the eternal Marvel's optimist.
Yeah. Well, we will be back soon to talk about that Captain America Brave New World trailer. We've got to talk about the What If trailer. We've got a number of things we've got to talk about regarding the Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim, because we are getting very, very close.
Yeah.
So Spencer, I think you might not have made it in here before I talked about that. I think that the asterisk is because this is a placeholder and that these are our secret Avengers.
Or something
similar, but I think that since the Secret Avengers was a Black Ops group, I think this group like fits that to a T.
Yeah, for sure.
Winter Soldier, a Red Room assassin.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
them alone fit the mold for Secret Avengers. So
yeah.
I think that the asterisk is, it's either that they're going to do one of two things. They're going to play this whole thing where they don't want to be the Thunderbolts.
They are.
But at the end of the day, the asterisk comes off. Or it's a placeholder because these are the Secret Avengers. And that's my guess.
Yeah.
So
what's your preference?
Of those two, I want them to be the Secret Avengers. Okay. I think at the end of the day, it makes more sense for this group. And we can take off, because when you use the Thunderbolts, you're kind of questioning. There's a lot of stuff with the Thunderbolts where some of them are bad guys. And this does a couple things. One, I don't want some of these characters to be bad guys, specifically Bucky. I don't need Bucky to be a bad guy again.
Yeah.
And you can do Thunderbolts and not make them bad guys. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that they're not the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be interesting. I'm excited for it, though.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We will be back real soon, talk about some of this other stuff that's coming up, and expect weekly reviews for all of this stuff and a bunch of stuff. There is a song that just dropped today, Paris Paloma, the writer. It's the new song from the War of the Rohirrim. Go check it out. It is beautiful, and I cannot wait to hear more of this soundtrack.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from that movie, but the song is fantastic.
Yeah.
The music's going to be, I have no reason to believe the music won't be beautiful.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will be back soon, guys. Until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.